wonder where the birds are singing, out yonder where the ivy's clinging. Sweetheart, down memory lane.
Let's wonder now the moon is rising,
where every heart is harmonizing. Sweetheart, down memory lane. Memory lane,
where love is just like a song. We'll drift along.
without a care we'll sing a sweet refrain together. And when we're getting old and grey, dear,
We'll wander in the same old way, dear
sweetheart, down memory lane.
We've just been taking a trip down memory lane, Olive and me, seeing how much we remember about where we grew up.
Yeah, we lived in the same street, see?
Now, this is going back a while. I was born in 1915.
And I'm a bit younger than Doris, born in 1919.
Of course, it was different in those days. There were no cars, for a start. So it was safe for all the children to play out in the street.
At one point, there were 49 children just in our little turning.
Yeah, you'd have these great big families living in these tiny houses, loads of children, so we'd all be playing outside. We were like a little tribe. And if anyone came along who wasn't from our street, we'd know.
And if a new family moved in next door, you soon got to know their business.
Yeah, they soon got to know your business because everyone knew everyone.
It was quite a little community. You didn't want to go out the street. It was so special.
Yeah, and half of us were related, like the Biggingtons.
I'm Bernard Biggington. I lived at number 6 with my mum and dad. Next door, at number 5, was me grandmother and me grandfather. Next door, on the other side, number 7, was me aunt and uncle. 3 terraced houses, all family as it were.
It was a sun trap, our street, always warm. And the babies were out in their prams. Yeah, the mums had put them under the shade of the trees. And my mother used to say that along the end of the road where the orchard was, well, that was all watercress beds when she was young.
The houses were first built for the people that worked for the railway. The station's just the other side of the fence.
They had the old horse acne cabs down by the side of the station. Bowler hats the cabbies used to wear then.
And opposite Olive's house is the shed where they kept all the horses. And all you could hear in the evening was the horses banging and crashing the roofs because of the rats that was in there.
Oh, huge, big rats they were, more like cats. And they used to run down the street at night.
Now, they were only tiny, these houses, but they were often divided into 2 with a gas stove on the landing for the upstairs family. And you'd all have to share the outside toilet.
There was no bathroom or running hot water.
No garden, just a yard out the back. Come on, hurry up.
Ah, you wait your turn.
Of course, you had the front room, the parlour, but, well, you only used that on special occasions.
When my mother first moved into the street, she just had the bottom rooms. Well, it was quite some time before she was able to have the whole house.
And it wasn't unusual if one lot of people moved out. See ya. For the house to be sealed, even the letterbox sealed, and sulphur candles burnt inside to purify the walls and get rid of all the bugs.
No one was well off, but then again, no one went without. What one did for one did for the other.
Everyone looked after everyone. It's a very close-knit street.
Where love is
Just like a song, we'll drift along without a care, refrain together. And when we're getting old and grey,
We'll wander in the same old way, dear
sweetheart, down memory lane, down memory lane.
Mrs. Smith, who lived at number 20, well, she was the local midwife. And she'd do the laying out, too. She was quite a tubby, motherly person. And you could always call on her to do everything.
I remember one day when I was about 14, there was this huge explosion next door. Ah! And Mrs. Smith came staggering out the back. We could see her over our little fence. Her hair was all singed.
Yeah, I turned the gas oven on and then I forgot to light it for a few minutes. So when I went there with a match, of course, the whole thing exploded.
We was horrible kids and we was laughing like that.
Now, if you wanted any sewing doing, you went to Mrs. Greenfield at number 4.
I'd do curtains and dresses and the boys' trousers. I worked at the Reliance Laundry all day. Then I'd come home and sew.
You'd see her sitting there machining.
And for the Jubilee of King George V, I made costumes for all the children in the street out of crepe paper, striped red, white and blue. And for the girls, I made little puff sleeves.
And Mr. Greenfield, he worked at Smithfield's.
Yeah, I used to get the 3 o'clock in the morning train to get to the market. Then I'd bring meat home with me from work, cut it up into joints in the shed, sell it on cheap to the neighbours. Lovely bit of mutton today.
And if you're talking about food, then I think only of Doris's mum. Nan Bliss, I used to call her. Well, she could make a meal out of nothing. She was a wonderful cook. Yeah, I think she fed half the children in our street.
We used to go down to the orchards at the end of our street and fill our knickers with apples.
We'd give them to Nan Bliss to make into toffee apples with sticks in. Done professional.
There was a lady that lived in the big house down by the orchard. She was tiny and dressed in black. We thought she was a witch. Don't do that.
And we always ran past Mr. Franklin's house, number 23. He didn't want children playing outside there. He was an absolute misery, he was.
And in the evening, the lamplighter would come round. He lived at number 26.
Just a song at twilight, when the lights are low, and the flickering
He'd come out at dusk with his long pole, and he'd light all the gas lights down our street.
Though the heart be weary, sat the day and still to us at twilight comes love's old sweet song.
Now, my earliest memory is the street party that we had at the end of the First World War.
Yay!
It's a long way
to Tipperary, it's a long way to go.
Now, I was only 3 at the time, but I remember all the children were in their Sunday best. And I was wearing this pretty little pink frock that my nan had crocheted with pink bows in my hair. Now, I was just standing on this bench when I suddenly toppled over, grazed my knee, and oh, I cried. Yeah, then someone gave me a little bun with icing on top, and that cheered me up.
It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart's right there. Hey! My father fought in the First World War.
So did 3 of my uncles, along with Pat Greenfield's dad from number 4.
And Mrs. White, who lived next door to the Reeves. She lost 4 brothers.
Everybody had somebody who lost someone.
My dad worked in the arsenal.
And my uncle was working there with him.
Yeah, we was filling shells. There was 5 of us there in all close friends.
They called us canaries.
Because we was completely yellow.
And this stuff, they didn't give you no masks or nothing. And this stuff, it used to eat your lungs away.
And gradually you developed this cough.
And do you know what? All 5 of those men died within 6 months of each other, 8 years after the war ended. My father first,
Then my uncle.
and then the other 3.
I remember going down Lewisham and seeing men sitting on the pavements begging. Some of them had no legs. They'd been dreadfully wounded, but nobody wanted to know about them. Disgusting, really, when you think about it.
I was just 10 when my father died. Now, my mother had a widow's pension, but it wasn't very much, so she used to have to go out to work, and one of her jobs was cleaning in a school. So she had to get up really, really early. And what she'd do, she'd get the porridge ready the night before. And when I got up, I'd have a bowl and it'd still be lovely and hot. I never, ever went hungry. And then off I'd go to school. Now, I remember one day I was walking back over the common when these two children from my class came up, quite nasty, you know. They said...
Where'd you live then?
Oh, well, we was just passing this huge white house where my mum was cleaning, so I said, in there.
No, you don't.
Yes, I don't.
Let's see you walk up the steps and knock at the door then.
Well, I knew that Mr. and Mrs. Japp, who lived in the house, were away, but my mum was in there cleaning, so I walked up the steps to the front entrance. I rang the bell. This butler comes to the door, all done up like.
Yes?
I'm Ada Blissesgill.
Well, what do you think you're doing walking up here?
I've just told those two children that I live here.
Oh, you did you? Well, you better come in then.
And then I went. Wow! It was lovely inside. I'd never been inside a place like that before. Anyway, he took me down to the kitchen where my mum was cleaning, and when she saw me, she said, "What are you doing here?" When I told her, she laughed. And then she made me something to eat, and then back I went to school. Thank you. And after that, I was treated with great reverence by those two kids. Really thought that I lived in that house. Well, after that, Mrs. Japp suggested that I might like to go and clean some steps for a lady that she knew in Elliot Vale on a Saturday morning. I was just 10 at the time, but I went along. She met me at the door.
Here's your pail of water.
Stone cold it was.
Now, wash and scrub all these steps down.
Yes, ma'am.
Then rinse them off and empty the water down the road.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Oh, and when you've finished, walk up the side so you don't make a mark on the steps.
Oh, no, ma'am. I mean, yes, ma'am. For years after that, whenever I went past that house, it was always my great ambition to take a bucket of dirty water and just throw it over them steps.
Bring me back the pail and I'll give you a penny. Oh, don't spend it all at once.
Whatever money I made, I gave to me mother.
1, 2, 3, a Larry, my bowl's down the airy. Don't forget to give it to Mary, not to Charlie Chaplin. We used to play together down the street. We used to get this big blanket, right? And we'd tie it to the railings at the top and pull it down onto the road, make a nice big tent, you see. Then we'd climb underneath it.
There was hopscotch. You draw with a chalk.
Yeah, and you had spinning tops.
And we played ball and all. Mr. Murley had the best of all. The ball would go bonk, bonk, bonk.
Oh, donkey!
Oi! Will you stop that bleeding racket?
Miss Below so-and-so.
Oh, I heard that, Bernard. Now I'm going to tell your dad.
Bernard, he was the cheeky one.
Yeah, I used to get the milk bottles, right, from the front door steps. And mix them all up and line them up down the middle of the road. Then I'd run and hide and watch them sort out whose milk was whose.
No, that's mine now.
Well, how many did you order then?
I was always getting into fights, and there'd always be a reception committee waiting for me when I got home from school. They'd be there complaining to me mother.
Look what your Bernard's done to our Frank.
Frank Kitz's mother from number 12. She got a handful of his hair. I just yanked it out of his head. When she gone, my mother would say...
I'm getting sick and tired of this.
And she had a cane. A very flexible cane. And there was a big table in the kitchen. And she'd be chasing me this way.
Come here.
And that way. And she'd chase me all the way around the table.
You wait till I get hold of you, baby.
She could never catch me, though. I could always run faster.
One winter, when it was thick snow and ice, Bernard got this great tin bath that used to hang on the wall.
That's right, it's this big hill just by our street. and it was thick with ice. And we thought, this'll be fun.
So we both got in, but instead of going straight down, we started spinning.
Then we hit the curb, and it threw us onto the pavement.
And we didn't do that again. It was such a cold winter that my father's shirts got frozen stiff on the line, and we used to go and get them and dance with them.
Once, when it was really icy, the horse pulling the milk cart started sliding down the hill.
And the driver was there, pulling on the reins, trying to hold it back. Get out of the way, little girl. Get out of the way!
It was really frightening to watch. Well, after that, my mum had the horrors that one of those horses would slide down the hill and land on one of us playing out there. So we moved along the road, away from the hill, to number 24.
And that's how Doris came to live next door to us.
Well, one day, I came home from school and there was Olive, standing outside her own front doorstep, and it was freezing outside. What are you doing out here on the step?
Well, my mum's still at work and we don't have a key to get in.
Why not?
Well, she don't like us making a mess indoors.
So what do you do for your tea?
Nothing much. My mum doesn't really like cooking.
Oh, my mum's just made a huge bread pudding.
We never have anything like that.
Well, why don't you come into our house? Oh, you're all skin and bone, you are. Look, I'll tell you what, I'll feed you up, right? And then we can go out and play. Yeah. I'd always thought that Olive was quite well off. She was always so well dressed. Black patent shoes, 2 dresses a day for school, one before lunch, and a newly ironed one after. But I didn't know she had nothing on the table to eat. Came as quite a shock to find out what her home life was really like. You see, Olive's mother's first job had been as a nanny, living in with this family in a lovely house near Hyde Park. Now, she'd never learnt to cook, because all she had to do was look after a child. She'd push the pram round Hyde Park every morning. Now, Olive's dad, he was with the Royal Artillery, and they used to exercise their horses in Hyde Park every morning, and that's how they met.
If you were the only girl in the world, and I were the only boy, nothing else would matter in the world today. We could go on loving in the same old way. A garden of Eden, just made for two, with nothing to mar our joy. I would say such wonderful things to you. There would be such wonderful things to do if you were the only girl in the world and I were the only boy.
I've seen a photograph of their wedding. Him in this wonderful uniform, and her clothes was all the London clothes. They both looked beautiful.
If I were the only girl in the world, and I were the only boy.
If only. God, he was an absolute charmer. He sold insurance and used to sweet talk all the ladies.
Yeah, I'm sorry to bother you, sweetheart. Maybe you'd like to go for a drive in my
excuse
car.
me?
Have a drink, something like that.
Oi,
Go down
oi,
the
hey,
corner.
hey.
I'll tell you, I'll come back later. All right.
He had this big brass plate outside his front door with Royal London on it. Now, they were the only family in the street with a car, and she used to keep the house spotless. She even used to dust the railings outside.
Now, when the milkman come round with the horse and cart, Olive's mum was really onto the horse's manure that dropped in the street. Now, if it dropped outside her own house, that was fine. But if it dropped outside somebody else's house, well, then she'd wait and watch to see if anybody else would come out to pick it up. And if not, She'd be out like a flash with a bucket and shovel, scoop it up, and she'd be away.
Yeah, I think you'll find that horse deposited there.
Actually, madam.
She caused no end of quarrels down the street because she'd taken what was considered theirs. But you should have seen the size of her roses.
She loved flowers, she did, and every Friday night, Olive's dad used to stop off and buy her a beautiful bunch. Now, on a Saturday afternoon, Olive's dad would take Olive and me to the Prince of Wales Cinema in Lewisham.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
And we saw films like The Old Dark House,
Ah!
Laurel and Hardy in Hollywood Party, and Raymond Navarro in Desert Nights. And then, when we come out, it was fish and chips. Oh, and that was absolutely the bee's knees.
On a Saturday, I go to Boys' Brigade. Big company, about 100 boys. I play my bugle, march up and down. Good, ain't I? Yeah, we played football there as well. This farmer lent us this big field, and it was always full of cowpats. And you go in there, and you go home covered in it. Oh.
And every weekend, the Walls Ice Cream Man would come round on his bicycle.
Stop me and buy one!
My dad would buy us one for a treat.
Now, in the summer, the fair used to come to the common. It seemed to be there for ages. You had the rope swings.
That was my favourite.
The coconut shine. Oh, the carousel. And my favourite was the ghost train.
You'd be afraid to go on, but it was a thrill. And as you went round, cobwebs would touch your face, and a door would open, and a skeleton would come out from nowhere.
When I was 8, I went to the fair with my cousin. He was much older than me, and he said...
Here, Bernie,
Yeah.
you see them coppers up there?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, if you go up there and you wander around and you pretend to be lost,
Right.
they'll put you into an enclosure for lost children, yeah?
Oh, right.
And then they'll give you free cakes and sweets.
Oh.
Go on.
And he left me there, and they put me in this enclosure, and they give me loads of cakes. And sweets. I was there for ages. A lot later, my cousin, he come back and he said...
Oh, yeah, that's him. That's Bernard. Thank you, officer. We'll look after him now.
They even give me the fare back home.
Saturday nights, me mum and dad would play cards. Oh, that'd be a quiet Saturday evening.
It wasn't like that in our house. Oh, no, no, no. We'd have family and friends round. We'd have a sing-song. My dad would play the piano and everybody did a turn. Me granddad would sing when your hair has turned to silver.
Come on, Granddad.
When your hair has turned to silver. I will love you just the same. I will always call you sweetheart. That will always be your name. In a garden full of roses, and on the sunset trail we'll stray. When your hair has turned to silver, I will love you as tonight.
Hey, let's not cheer you up. She's mine.
She's mine.
Put them away.
I'm to marry and never to part. Is my sweet
Every Sunday we went to church. You had these Sunday clothes you didn't wear in the week. My mother would not let any of us miss church.
And on one Sunday in the summer every year, Mrs. Unstead from number 7 would organise a coach trip for the whole street. Now, Laurie Javes from number 22, he'd do all the driving.
Greasy, wavy hair, all-rim glasses.
Lord Kitchener moustache.
Yeah, I saved up, bought a coach, and then I started my own little firm. James Coaches.
And when he met the ladies in the street, he always greeted them.
Oh, hello, me old love. Hello, me old darling.
We all took baskets of food with us down to the seaside. Well, everyone would come along.
All right, everybody else, here we go.
Blue's been polishing the sun, brightening the sky today. They must have done just how I like it. Everything's coming my way. Blue's been teaching all the birds how to sing around LA. They must have done just how I like it. Everything's coming my way. Yesterday everything looked anyhow. Then I met someone and look at it now. Who's been polishing the sun, rubbing up the clouds of rain? They must have done just how I like it. Everything's coming my way.
Right, that's it. Everybody else.
And on Sunday, the fishman would come round, calling out.
We go, shrimps.
And we'd have that with bread and butter for our tea.
Monday morning, it was back to school.
We plough the fields and scatter the good seed on the land.
We were all in the baby class together. It was Bernard's fault that Doreen Hall from number 2 had to go to hospital. We all had these trays of beads, and she said,
What do we do with these?
You stick them up your nose.
So I did. And I got one stuck up.
and in the afternoons we all had to have a nap on upturned tables with a little pillow and a red blanket over us.
I could never go to sleep. It was so uncomfortable.
Opposite the school, there was a sweet shop. Mr. Poffley's. He was a lovely man. We used to go in there. Can I have a sherbet dab with a liquor?
And I'd like some farthing blackjacks, please.
And I want a gobstopper. They're great, these are. You put them in your mouth, right? And then you put them in the resin. And then come here. And then go. And then you put them to see what colour they've gone. One day we was going home from school and we saw all these sheep. The farmer was driving them towards the slaughterhouse behind the butcher's. Well, the one at the front thought...
No, I'm not going in there.
and headed off in the direction of the gents' outfitter shop. Well, sheep, they follow, don't they?
Yes.
And they all went to the gents' outfitter shop. You should have seen me go to counter. Petrified he was. Us kids, we was laughing like mad. We never seen anything so funny. And I'll tell you what, he never left his door open again.
We're poor little lambs who have lost our way. Ba, ba, ba. We're little black sheep who have gone astray. Ba, ba, ba. Gentleman songsters off on a spree, damned from here to eternity. God have mercy on such as we. Ba, ba, ba.
Bar Shop Quartet. Bar.
Terrible, isn't it? Yeah, next door to the outfitters was the barber shop. Mr. Hacker, he was called. I'm not joking. Hacker, that really was his name. Yeah, my mum used to make me go there because she insisted that men cut hair much better than women.
All right, Olive, you're next.
And I'd sit there till it was my turn, and I'd feel so embarrassed because I was the only girl there. Well, in the end, they got to know me and I was quite accepted.
There you are, love. All done.
Thank you. And the funny thing was that when I left school, I went straight into hairdressing myself. I was 14 on the 24th of July, and on the 1st of August, I started as an apprentice at a salon in Lewisham. We used to work so hard, and for such long hours, for just 7 and 6 a week, that I used to cry when I got home. I was so tired. My mother said, you've got to stick it. You've got to learn a trade.
Oh!
I stayed on at school till I was quite a lot older because my mother said, I don't want you working as hard as me. I want something better for you. You see, most people, they left school when they were still children, really. I remember Victor Mitchell from number 27. Now, one minute, he's in short trousers singing in a school play.
Oh, for the wings of a dove!
And the next minute, he's working in the print.
Yeah, I was taken on as a printer's apprentice in a periodical house near Waterloo. I remember my first day clearly, because my mum made me wear all my school things.
Now you put on your raincoat and your school cap,
No.
because it's raining and I don't want you getting wet.
Oh, please, Mum, not my school stuff.
Oh, until you bring home your first pay packet, we can't afford nothing
Yeah, but I
else.
can wear-
Now go on, off you go.
When I got there, the bloke on the gate, because I was so small and wearing all my school things, he said...
You clear off. We don't know school kids round here.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they left school, went straight to work in the local shops or the big department stores like Heinz. Well, that's where my friend Doreen from number 2 got her first job. It was a beautiful store, very high class.
Yes, I was in haberdashery. I started as assistant number 6. It wasn't Christian names, it was all...
Miss Hall, remember you are not allowed to talk to the customers for the first 3 months because you are not trained.
So, they trained you to say,
Can I help you, madam?
can I help you, madam?
Good. Now, if a customer would like to see some buttons, then you bring out the...
Button tray?
and you say... Would you like to see some...
Buttons, madam?
Good, and then you move on to the next customer.
Well, you didn't stand around all day like they do nowadays. This one lady came in, she was worth millions, and she said...
I want a large safety pin to do up my fur coat.
Another lady came in, oh, she must have been 100 years old, and we used to have to shout down her ear trumpet. Can I help you, madam?
Good.
Now, when you made the bill out, you had to get Miss Mellor to sign it.
You would?
Could you sign it?
Good.
And then the money went in this pulley thing. And then you got your change back.
Good.
All right, 6 o'clock. Nobody coming. You can put the covers on your counters now, ladies.
6 o'clock, Saturday evening, I'd dash home, I'd get change, and I'd go dancing with my best friend, Marjorie Sparks, from number 10.
We went to the dances they used to have at the parish hall on the corner of our street.
Now, you all had your dance dresses.
I had a very pea green dress. Beautiful it was.
There were usually far more girls than men,
And the boys that were there just used to cluster around the door.
so mostly I danced with Marjorie. She was a wonderful foxtrotter. Well, quite honestly, if you did get any of the fellas to dance with, half of them had 2 left feet. Anyway.
There was no dancing for me. All through my apprenticeship at the hairdressers, well, they worked as 9 in the morning till 8 in the evening, and 9 on Saturdays. Well, that wasn't unusual then. It was the same for every girl.
I first saw Olive at the bus stop, with her blonde hair and a little brown beret on top. I was working in Samuel's the greengrocer's, 17 years old.
And I was 14.
I wanted to be introduced to her. Now I work with Molly Unstead at the greengrocer's, and she said,
Oh, yeah, that's Olive Snapes, that is. She lives down our street, she does.
I think she's a smasher. Could you introduce us?
So the next evening I says to Olive, come on, Olive, we're going for a walk.
Oh, no, I'm too tired for that. I've been on my feet all day.
No, there's someone special wants to meet you.
Oh. So she walked me down to this pub, the British Oak.
Right, come on, in you go.
I can't go in there. My mum would kill me if she found out.
So I had to go in by myself. Oh. Oh, Bill was over in the corner. He was playing darts with his family, so I walked straight up to him. I said, Olive's waiting outside.
So he came out, and he never went back in.
Yes, sir, that's my baby. No, sir, I don't mean baby. Yes, sir, that's my baby now. My baby, that's my baby. Yes, ma'am, we decided no, ma'am, we won't hide it. Yes, ma'am, you're invited now. By the way, by the way, by the way, oh, by the way, when we reach the bridge on oh, yes, sir, that's my baby. No, sir, I don't mean maybe. Yes, sir, that's my baby now. Pretty soon, pretty soon, pretty soon, oh, pretty soon, we will hear that famous old tune. Yes, sir, that's my baby. No, sir, I don't mean maybe. Yes, sir, that's my baby now. Yes, sir, that's my baby. No, sir, I don't mean maybe. Yes, sir, that's my baby now.
And after that, every morning when I was waiting for my bus opposite the greengrocer's, Bill used to run across the road with a piece of fruit or a basket of strawberries for me to take to work.
Every night I meet Olive after work. No matter what time she finished, I'd be waiting outside to see her home.
At that time, Bill was living with his cousins. You see, his mum died when he was little, and he and his dad went to live with his auntie. Well, she had 12 kids of her own, so she didn't really want Bill as well. I went there once. I've never been in a house like it. Well, there was nothing there, no carpets, nothing.
I didn't have much schooling when I was younger. I used to have to stay at home, look after the little ones and do the cleaning. Remember the first time I done these stairs? I started at the bottom and I went up to the top. And I got a clout for that because I done it the wrong way round. I said, I thought you always had to work your way up. And I got another clout for that. That's the room I share with me dad.
It was a tiny little box room with no windows. And I thought I'd got to do something about this. So I asked Molly's mum down our street if she could let him have a room in her house.
And I moved in. 4 doors down from Olive. 7 shillings a week, including Sunday breakfast.
He arrived with a suitcase, but do you know there was nothing in it? He only had the clothes he stood up in.
I used to wash my clothes on a Sunday morning, so then I'd have to iron them dry before I could go out anywhere. Many's the time I met Olive, I was wearing a pair of damp grey flannels.
I remember the first Christmas he moved into our street. My mum arranged that all his Christmas presents would be clothes.
And from then on, I saw Olive every single day for 6 years, until we got married.
And we put aside what we could every week for all that time, saving up for our life together.
Yes, sir, that's my baby now.
Frank, I ever had. I'd seen him about the place for years, but, well, I'd never taken any notice of him. And then one day, when I was about 17, we both happened to be at one of those magic lantern slide shows. Frank?
Doris? Oh, hello.
Hello.
Someone was giving a talk about where they'd been and what they'd done. And then came the collection plate. Well, I ain't got any money. I don't suppose Doris had either.
So we both tried to make a swift getaway. No, and we got jammed in the door. I know, I was here before you.
Goodness sake, get out of the way.
That was it. Well,
Doris. Do you want to go to the pictures? Go on, Lewisham.
yeah.
I'll see you there then.
All right. I took the afternoon off school for that, but, oh, it was worth it. He bought me some maple Brazils. And when I got home, I shot upstairs and hid them so my mum wouldn't find out what I'd been up to.
When we was courting, we all went round as a group, all friends together like.
You just had the one boy, really, but you'd all go walking and dancing together.
Here we are again, oh, happy as can be. Oh, good pals and jolly good company.
And eventually we got engaged.
Well, it wasn't a bended knee thing or anything like that. We just sort of drifted into it. Suddenly you've got this engagement ring staring up at you from the box. It was quite nice, really. We were engaged for quite some time. You weren't in a hurry in those days. Oh.
And the day we set on to get married was the 3rd of September 1939. Can you believe it?
It was at the Congregational Church at 9:30 in the morning. Nice and early, because we were going to shoot off, catch the train to Torquay for our honeymoon.
Hooray! It was a small family affair, and we was all gathered around a table, just about to cut the cake, when the sirens went off.
All the guests disappeared, they all shot off.
Oh, we'll have to cancel the honeymoon.
What's going to happen to the cake?
Oh, leave it, come on.
I remember everyone came out in the street when the sirens went off. The noise, it was deafening. Well, we'd all been issued with gas masks.